Now, I don't mean that if your mental health gets worse, it's your fault. Of course, it's not your fault. But what I do mean is you do need to take some action, because if you sit in it, it potentially can get worse. So I'm hoping that I inspire at least one person to start getting treatment during this time of change, because your life's different already. Why not make it different for the better? Hi, welcome to my channel, Mostly Mental Mary. I talk about mostly mental health, and my name is Mary. So glad you're here. So, here's the deal. It's a crazy time right now. People are dealing with whether or not they are working, issues and anxieties, dealing with the fear of what's happening and whether or not their family and friends are okay. There's financial issues. It is crazy. But here's the thing about mental health. It doesn't treat itself. And if you leave your mental health, your anxiety, your depression, or whatever else, whether you be diagnosed or undiagnosed, if there's a problem and you're leaving it untreated, it's not going to go anywhere. You can't do the fake it until you make it if you have clinical depression or a disordered amount of anxiety. You can't fake that until you make it and it magically goes away. It needs treatment. You have to treat your mental health. My point is, you have to treat it. Now, whether or not you choose to have a medical professional help you in your treatment is up to you. If you're ever going to listen to my advice, please go to a doctor. Please see a therapist. It's the number one thing I want to share. So, treatment. In my experience, the way you treat mental health is by having healthy coping skills, having a good support system, and having mental health medication. Now, the mental health medication may be optional depending on your level of mental health issues, but that's also something that you do have to consult a doctor. Please don't self-medicate. That being said, you have to treat your mental health for it to get better. So if you're choosing to not use a medical professional, which is fine, I guess. So if you're going to do it without, you need to focus on your coping skills, your support system, and I'll add your habits, which is kind of like your coping skills. But if you leave it untreated and you do the fake it till you make it, it's going to get worse. Untreated long-term mental health issues can actually do more harm than you think. I've seen where untreated mental health affects the immune system. My mental health has gotten worse from teenagehood to adulthood, and as a teenager I very rarely got sick, and now I get sick at least once a month. And you can look it up. There is a link between depression and a weaker immune system. You're less likely to be able to fight things off if you're in a depressive state. But untreated mental health issues can lead to physical issues that are unrelated because you left your immune system was more susceptible to those things. It can also affect your memory. If you start having a situation where you're not treating your mental health, it can deteriorate things like your memory and your emotional control, and all of the symptoms of mental health can get worse over time. If you start with some mild depression, but you don't treat it and you don't fix anything, it can get worse and you can find yourself in a major depressive episode. Now, I don't mean that if your mental health gets worse, it's your fault. Of course, it's not your fault. But what I do mean is you do need to take some action, because if you sit in it, it potentially can get worse. If you have health insurance and it's something that's within your means to be able to do, go and see a doctor and see a therapist immediately. I have a personal opinion that therapy and seeing a therapist should be as normal and as common as getting a checkup, because sometimes when you're living in a situation where your mental health is not good, you can become so numb to it you don't realize it, that you are miserable every day. And if you were required to see a therapist once a year, maybe it might catch some things you need to work on and you don't have to continue living that way. So my whole point in this video, and the reason I'm recording it and publishing it at this particular time in history, is that most likely something about your usual life has changed. Whether or not you are working from home, or you're not working when you used to be, or the people in your household are not working when they used to be, or maybe just your habits and hobbies have changed since you can't do things like go to the movies or go out to eat. Most likely, at least some aspect of your normal life is currently different than it was just a few months ago. So I think now is a great time to start mental health treatment if you have never started it, or if you've been lackluster with your attempts to start it. Because one of the hardest things to do when starting treatment is changing, because you have to change your behaviors, whether or not you're emotionally ready to change or not. If your behaviors are hurting you, you have to start changing them. And what better time to start changing than when you are in a period of change? If something is different about your life now than it was a few months ago, go ahead and start picking out a few more things to change. So I'm hoping that despite the negative mental health issues and effects of the current situation and social distancing, I'm hoping that at least one person can look at this video and take this as inspiration to find some change and some treatment. Your treatment can be as simple as replacing one bad habit for one coping skill. And that might be enough for you. Remember, there are therapists who will do phone call therapy, video chat therapy. There's therapists who'll do text therapy. There's like apps you can download. So I'm hoping that I inspire at least one person to start getting treatment during this time of change, because your life's different already. Why not make it different for the better? It doesn't have to cost money if you lost your job. It doesn't have to be something that is a huge turnaround. But learning coping skills, using your social support system, phone calls, video chats. Hey, you're stuck away from the rest of the world, so use this time to cut out people who are really negative influences in your life. Let your friendship or relationship with them sizzle out over this quarantine and forget to pick it back up when the quarantine ends. Just please get treatment. I know therapy is not accessible for everyone, but changing your life and changing your habits is. Pick a new hobby. Start gardening. Learn an instrument. Start a YouTube channel. Pick something to do with your time that nourishes your soul. And that will help. I guess that's all I have to say. I hope I'm reaching more than just my friends and family. If you're happening upon this video, I'm glad you're here. You were put on this video for a reason. Comment down below if you need advice. I'm not a professional, but I am an advocate, and I'm always an open ear. I've been dealing with lifelong mental health issues for a very long time, and they're not going anywhere. So, if you need someone, that's why I started this channel. I guess that's it. Make changes. Treat yourself kindly. Reach out to people. Work on hobbies, coping skills, and things that nourish your life. And take this time to start to treat yourself. Thanks for being on my page. See you next time.